After making a few college football videos, some people suggested that I just go through every FBS stadium. And it's a good idea, but there are just so many stadiums, so it makes sense to go conference by conference. I'll be doing a new conference every week, and we'll start off with the Atlantic Coast Conference. Alumni Stadium, home to the Boston College Eagles. An unassuming classical design, but that doesn't mean it's boring. It actually hosted the New England Patriots for a year in 1969. They were known as the Boston Patriots back then, of course. And back then, the stadium looked a lot different. It even had a running track. That was gotten rid of when the stadium was renovated in the 90s. An interesting little tidbit is that every winter, an inflatable bubble covers the field in order to use it as a training facility in the freezing temperatures. They even put batting cages in there. Doak Campbell Stadium, home to the Florida State Seminoles. It has what is arguably one of the best looking exteriors in college football. The beautiful brick facade that wraps around the entirety of the stadium is in keeping with the architecture of the campus itself. There's also a huge stained glass window that depicts Bobby Bowden, whom the stadium is named after. Well, the field rather. The interior is a little underwhelming by comparison, but it's not bad at all. And it's got to be hard to compete with that exterior. Bobby Dodd Stadium, home to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. When they play Florida State, is it called the Battle of the Bobbies? Unlike the last one, the exterior is nothing to write home about. But it does have one notable feature, if you want to call it that, and that's the magnificent view of downtown Atlanta. And they have even stacked the seating on the north and western sides of the field in order to A, not block the view, and B, allow more spectators to have that view. It does make it look a little unusual, but in a good way, I think. Wallace Wade Stadium, home to the Duke Blue Devils. It's a college that gets a lot of hate, but more so for their basketball team. No hate should be directed towards the stadium though, because it's not bad at all. Just like Alumni Stadium, it too used to have a running track, but it was only removed 5 or 6 years ago after a major renovation. An interesting anomaly occurred in 1942 when this stadium hosted the Rose Bowl, instead of, the Rose Bowl. This was due to the West Coast's vulnerability to a Japanese air raid. Of course, AT&T Stadium hosted the 2021 Rose Bowl, for a completely different reason. Cardinal Stadium, home to the Louisville Cardinals. It's located right next door to the famous Churchill Downs, home to the Kentucky Derby. It's got a bit of everything, this place. It's very modern and NFL-like on the inside, yet the exterior isn't too far removed from a classic college stadium. It just looks a little more cutting edge. And this stadium is a rarity in college football, given that the seating is made up entirely of bucket seating. The stadium's north end zone seating was expanded only a couple of years ago. Scott Stadium, home to the University of Virginia Cavaliers. Located in the leafy surrounds of Virginia is this beautiful horseshoe-shaped stadium, which, given they are called the Cavaliers, is rather appropriate. A horse rides into the stadium before every game as well, so there's plenty of horse action. One of the stadium's best features, in my opinion, although some might disagree, is the grass hill behind one of the end zones, which, if the weather is good, seems like a nice place to sit back and enjoy the game. However, if it's raining, or even worse, snowing, it would be horrible. So you're really gambling when you purchase a ticket in this section. Carrier Dome, home to Syracuse Orange. Is their team named after the color or the fruit? That doesn't really matter, because their stadium is something very special. It's the biggest dome stadium on a college campus, and it also hosts basketball, making it the biggest college basketball arena as well. However, it doesn't quite reach its football capacity. The stadium has recently undergone a renovation where the inflatable roof was replaced with a steel cable supported one. It's a similar story to Canada's BC Place. Clemson Memorial Stadium, home to the Clemson Tigers. The stadium also goes by the name Death Valley, and I can understand why. The field kinda looks like a green gully between two steep rocky mountains. As for the death part, well, I suppose that has something to do with the sacrifice of a small goat that occurs before every game. I swear, some of these college football traditions are quite strange, but you gotta love it. Or maybe it has something to do with the cemetery next door, not sure. But what I am sure of is that this is one imposing structure. And just like Alumni Stadium, it too hosted a professional team for just one season. That was the Carolina Panthers in 1995. Hard Rock Stadium, home to the Miami Hurricanes and the Dolphins of course, but this isn't an NFL video. The stadium started off life in the 80s as a fairly simple stadium without any roof canopies. It was designed with a wider field than usual, so it could accommodate baseball. However, this wasn't an ideal situation, and in 2015 it was renovated into the football-specific stadium that we see today, although it does host a tennis tournament once a year. The new design looks incredible. The exterior has a wraparound porch look to it, and the interior's vibrant color looks fantastic. Heinz Field, home to the Pittsburgh Panthers, and the Steelers of course, and the fictional team the Gotham Rogues featured in The Dark Knight Rises. A lot of the time when a college team plays at an NFL stadium, it's an afterthought. But the Panthers were involved with the project from the get-go basically. It is just a stone's throw from PNC Park, one of the MLB's best stadiums. You don't get quite the same view from the seats of Heinz Field as you do from PNC Park, but the view is still pretty good if you're sitting in the right seats, due to the open end on the river side of the field. Oddly enough, both the Pirates and the Steelers' old stadium was situated right between the two new stadiums. Kenan Memorial Stadium, home to the North Carolina Tar Heels. It is considered by many to be the most beautiful stadium in college football. And that is up for debate, but it does have a lot going for it. For starters, there's plenty of trees surrounding the stadium, and a nice little clock tower. Also, the extensive use of brick throughout looks pretty good. And the metal bleachers were recently replaced with Carolina blue seats, which reduced the capacity but increased the audacity. No, that doesn't make sense. It made it look better and made it more comfortable for the fans. All that combined makes for a great stadium. Lane Stadium, home to the Virginia Tech Hokies. Virginia Tech Hokies. First impressions are that the exterior is very monochromatic, but importantly, it is one of the many college stadiums that resembles a castle. I would ask why they do it, but the obvious answer is, why the heck not? Just like the last stadium, there are plenty of trees within view, and when autumn, or fall, swings around, the leaves are roughly the same color as the team's jersey. The atmosphere at this stadium is known for being incredibly loud for its size. Truist Field, home to the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. This relatively small stadium is reminiscent of many different small college stadiums across the US that have roughly the same design made up of two stands. However, this one is just that little bit better. Once again, it has a grass hill at one end. That's good. But more impressive is the facade of one of the stands. It is in keeping with the general aesthetic of the Wake Forest campus. I quite like this stadium. It's simple done right. And last but not least, Carter Finley Stadium, home to NC State Wolfpack. Another stadium that did have a grassy hill behind the north end zone, up until a grandstand was constructed in the mid-2000s, which changed it from a horseshoe to a bowl stadium. The seating is now made up of a mix of bench and bucket seating. The facade of the main stand has more of a modern look than most of the other stadiums in this conference, and due to the fact that the field is sunken into the ground, the rest of the stadium doesn't really have an exterior. And those were the stadiums of the Atlantic Coast Conference. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, have a good one.